What's up everybody, and welcome back to my channel. It's time for another Married at First Sight video. I always do these kind of like sporadically, let's say. So New Orleans, there's gonna be a cast for Married at First Sight New Orleans, which is a really awesome city that I enjoy. And so for that reason in particular, I'm just really looking forward to seeing what this season has to bring. It premieres on July 15th, by the way. So we've got 5 couples who are going to be set to marry each other when they first meet at the altar. And so I want to give you guys some of my predictions on who will be divorced and who will stay together by the end of the season, just by going off of their photographs and by the biographies of each member of the couple. So it's really difficult to get a vibe for people just based off photographs. Like, you know, you kind of need that video to get a sense of like their energy and just like personality and all of that, like the little nuances of people. So forgive me if I'm way off with these predictions, but I love a good prediction. So I figured, why the heck not? Like, we're all looking forward to seeing what this season has to bring. So why not kind of get our guesses in a little bit early and then come back at the end of the season to see how far off we were, or maybe even how close we were to getting the real deal. Maybe we're a little bit better than the experts, because you know that bar is very low, so it wouldn't take much to really predict who is compatible. By the way, each episode this season, and there's going to be 11, is 2 hours long. I am a little bit stressed out at the thought of sitting down for 2 hours every single week to watch a television show. What I probably will do, if it's available online, is buy the season on YouTube and then watch it on 2x speed. It's how I get through 90 Day Fiancé, because I don't love it. It's way too long. It's annoying. Things drag out, and by the end of it, there's not even that much juicy content. It's just a bunch of fillers that people use to, I don't know, have a long episode. I don't know who started this. It really annoys me that shows are starting to become so long. No one wants to sit around for 2 hours watching one thing. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's get into the couples. So the first one up is Amelia and Bennett. Just looking at them, they look like a very quirky couple. Like, he's got his blazer with all of this like paisley print on it. She's got a bird fascinator on and a quirky little wedding dress. So I think that they kind of have that in common. It's kind of rare for people to show up at their weddings individually looking like this, right? So the fact that they both, without knowing each other, showed up with something quite quirky, to me, is a good sign that they can be compatible on that front at the very least. Now, Bennett is 28 years old. It says here that he grew up in Montvale, New Jersey, and he is the artistic director of a theater company. They said that he sought a life partner for years, has been through a string of bad relationships, but is deeply encouraged by Married at First Sight's history of success with past couples. So right off the bat, his judgment is a little off, because Married at First Sight does not have a long history or a good history of successfully matching up couples. So if that's the reason why he's on here, I don't know, dude. Amelia, meanwhile, is 27 years old. She was raised in Richmond, Virginia, and is currently completing her medical residency. She subscribes to the idea that you can, and I quote, fall in love with anyone-ish. And it also says that her grandparents were in an arranged marriage. And so that's another reason why she thinks that it's possible to learn to love someone. And she loves social experiments and thought that this would be the perfect one for her. I do think she is right on the front that it is possible to learn to love someone. I think a lot of studies have been done about how women in particular are quite skilled at that. So my prediction for them as a couple is that they're gonna stay married. And it goes back to what I said a little bit earlier off the bat, which is how they both showed up to their wedding looking quite quirky. And that could have gone like very far south if they were matched with someone who was not compatible with that sort of like, I don't know, method of living your life or dressing or whatever. So I do think that it can work just based off that alone. And then on top of that, Amelia seems very invested in the process, because she says that she's got that familial link to arranged marriage, and that she believes that you can learn to love someone. So that shows me that even if she doesn't immediately find herself attracted to him for whatever reason, she could learn to look for the deeper, more important qualities in him to, you know, form a meaningful relationship. So I love that about her. Bennett, meanwhile, seems to have dealt with a string of heartbreak and now wants the safest option to find a relationship that sticks. So it seems like he is also quite invested himself. So I see them staying married by the end of the experiment. Next up, we've got Imani and Woody. So Woody is 30 years old. He's raised in New Orleans, and he's currently a teacher and a coach. It says that he's ready to find a partner who he can share the love and kindness he learned from his mother. And he knows who he is and what he has to offer to his future wife, and is eager for the experts to help him find that special someone. Imani, meanwhile, is 29 years old, and she was born in Northern California, raised in Chicago, and then she moved to New Orleans to attend college. And she works in a nonprofit and aspires to open her own nonprofit organization working with the youth. Imani is serious about finding a life partner to share career ambitions with, explore the world, and ultimately start a family. My prediction for them is that I can see them staying married, but I'm not as convinced as I am with the previous couple. And I'll tell you why. First of all, I think that they'll stay married because they both enjoy working with kids, and their biographies on themselves focus on kindness. So that's really wonderful that they've got that in common. I'm a bit weary, though, of men who overly talk up their mothers. You know, like if you're forced to give maybe 2 lines about like why you want to be married and your style of staying in a marriage or whatever, and you've got to like involve your mother in that, to me it's kind of like she's too much at the forefront of your mind when you think about romance, and no woman really wants to compete against someone's mom, you know. And also, a lot of our mothers, especially people who are older, Woody is a little bit older than me, like your mother probably grew up in an era, well, not probably, definitely grew up in an era where women were not as liberated as we are now. And so I think that these kinds of men typically have a delusional kind of view of what it's like to deal with a modern woman. They're going to be like, well, why doesn't my wife come home and like fix me a meal? Well, because unlike our moms who got to be housewives and to focus on those things, us as women now, we work. So why should we do the same 40 hours a week that you do and then come home and cook while you sit on your ass? It just doesn't work like that anymore. So that's why I kind of am saying reluctantly to staying married on those two. They seem like kind people. They have a similar passion for working with children and you know, building a better community for themselves. But that little line about the mom set off some alarm bells for me. Next up, we've got Olivia and Brett. It says here that Brett is 35 years old. He was born and raised in Gretna, Louisiana, and that he recently became an AWS cloud practitioner certified, whatever that means. Sorry, it's just too technical for me. And that he excels in his career in IT. It says that Brett has always been ready for marriage and is definitely open to the married at first sight experience, since he believes historically that arranged marriages have been the primary means of matchmaking for the vast majority of human history. Olivia, meanwhile, is 5 years younger. She's 30 years old. She was born and raised in Bossier City, Louisiana. And after receiving her Master of Science in nursing and working in clinics in Iowa, she wanted to be closer to home and moved to New Orleans for a position with a comprehensive stroke center. Having worked hard in her career, Olivia is ready to dedicate the same time and effort into a relationship. All right, guys, this one was a little tough, and I'll tell you why. In their photo, they seem like that they've genuinely warmed up to each other. She's leaning into him, he's holding her securely. They've got beautiful smiles on their faces. But I'm gonna say, and just like I said that the other two would be reluctantly married, I'm gonna say that these two, reluctantly I'm saying, that they're gonna divorce. And I just don't think that Olivia is going to be as invested in the process as Brett will be. Like, she just talks a lot about her own career, but doesn't talk about what she's looking for in a relationship, what she's gonna bring to a relationship. She's just like, oh, I got my master's, I worked in, you know, these hospitals in these states, and, you know, I'm trying to think of how I can dedicate some time and effort into a relationship. But like, what kind of relationship? What kind of time and effort? Like, there's nothing really there that shows me that she's going to be as emotionally invested as Brett. And as for our second last couple, we've got Christina and Henry. So Henry is 35 years old, and he was born and raised in Arabia, Louisiana. He currently works as a clinical recruiter and enjoys the career that he's established. He is looking for a partner to settle down with and feels like he's tried every approach possible but has been unsuccessful. The dating apps have been disappointing, and his friends and colleagues have no one else to introduce him to. Henry is interested in Married at First Sight because he believes the experiment will be beneficial in many ways and is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that he'd be crazy to pass up. Meanwhile, when it comes to Christina, she is 30 years old, same age difference as the previous couple, and she was born in Houma, Louisiana, and she was raised by a single mother and never really knew her biological father. She's a flight attendant who recently got out of a 5-year relationship and hasn't put much effort into dating or finding a partner. She's eager for the Married at First Sight experiment because she knows the experts are willing to do the work for her so she can settle happily into a relationship with her perfect match. All right, so as for these two, I think that their bios are riddled with red flags. So I'm gonna say that I think they're gonna divorce. First of all, when it comes to Henry, I find it very difficult to believe that a marriage-minded man, especially in the South, is not able to get married by the time they reach 35 years old. So for that reason, I think that he's got some personality flaws that he is not openly admitting to quite yet, but we might see them unfold as the season progresses. His bio entirely focuses on the negatives of life and how everything is everyone else's fault. The dating apps have been disappointed. And typically when men claim that dating apps are disappointing, they're like, oh, all the women aren't attractive enough for me. They're not beautiful enough. They're too fat, like this, that, or the other. It's never anything about the man and what he's doing wrong to find a proper match on there. Second of all, he says that his friends have run out of people to introduce him to. So to me, I'm like, another red flag. People close to you, knowing your personality and, being compatible with you personality-wise, have tried to set you up with people that they think could be a match for you, but you've gone through all of them unsuccessfully. To me, that kind of feels like, because meeting a significant other through mutual friends is one of the best ways because you and your friends already share values, which means that they probably share similar values to other people and can introduce you to people that you are compatible with, on that front. And so the fact that you've already exhausted that option and you're marriage minded and you're 35, to me, no, there's something wrong with this guy, and we're going to see exactly what that is this season. Christina, on the other hand, to me, seems overly casual about the process. She's kind of like, you know what, I got out of a 5-year relationship recently. I haven't put any effort into finding anybody, so I need you to find someone for me to marry and stay with for the rest of my life. It seems like she's putting way too much faith into this process that has already proven for many years to be quite unsuccessful. So she's going to be very disillusioned because she's believing in a fairy tale. She feels like they're going to give her a ready-made fairy tale, and that's just not how relationships work. You meet people who, you work towards being kind of, I don't know, like a good fit for, and like for them being a good fit in your life as well. It's a lot of kind of like a give and take here, and she kind of seems like she thinks that the experts will find her someone who already gets her, who already, fits into her world perfectly, and it's just not going to be like that. So I think for that reason, the two of them are going to divorce, and that I think is a pretty confident answer. Now, as for the last couple, they're named Karen and Miles. Miles is 26 years old. He was born in Spartanburg, South Carolina, and he's always been passionate about education and loves working with children and young adults. Miles is looking for a wife, but feels like his options are limited and thinks that Married at First Sight is the perfect opportunity to be connected with a partner he would not ordinarily come across. Miles not only has faith in the experts, but trusts the process. Karen, on the other hand, is 30 years old. She grew up in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and has been working as a consultant in New Orleans ever since she graduated. Karen has been single for 5 years and finds dating to be quite difficult. Karen is ready to get married at first sight because she believes the experts will find the right man who has been eluding her all this time. And now when it comes to this couple, I think that they too will divorce. I think that Miles is too young for Karen. Miles is 26 years old and Karen is 30 years old. And Miles also claims to have limited options at only 26 years old, again, in the South, as a man who apparently is marriage-minded. To me, that's a you problem. That's not a dating pool problem. In my opinion, that is indicative of a very delusional sense of self. And speaking of delusional, what is his job anyway? He is the only person out of any of the people listed here who doesn't have a career you know, mentioned in his profile. It just says that he enjoys and is passionate about education and working with children. So, you know, in what respect? What do you do for work, sir? Because if he doesn't have a job, oh my God, there's no way that this is going to work out. Like, he already has his age working against him here, but the fact that he's unemployed and Karen is 30 years old and seems to be family minded, it's just not going to work. Please don't tell me that yet again the experts have set up a successful woman with an unemployed man. That is the last thing that anybody needs yet again. Like, these are people's real feelings here. So it's really sad to see people continuously be thrown together with those who are just not compatible with them. Have we ever had in Marriage at First Sight history, with the exception of Elizabeth, a man be forced to take on kind of like a woman with no career aspirations? I don't watch the show super often, so you guys will have to tell me in the comment section, because it seems like every time I happen to get some kind of an interest in the show, it's the opposite. It always seems to be a successful woman being paired up with a man who doesn't really have his career figured out. So maybe Miles was telling the truth about having limited dating options. Maybe it's because he doesn't have a job at 26 years old, and you know, women have it together, so they don't want to take that on. Guys, what do you think about my predictions? It seems as though I predict that only Amelia and Bennett and Imani and Woody will stay married, and then I feel as though Olivia Brett, Christina Henry, Karen and Miles will all get divorced. So that's 2 marriages and 3 divorces this season. Do you guys have something a little bit different in mind? Was I being a little bit too harsh with some of these people? Make sure to let me know all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. And as usual, we'll chat. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.